or if you want to. Well, I reckon it's lawful that we have to report to the fiscal court the status of our financial condition, and that was the reason for this meeting to be called, that we need to address where we are and what we can do and to remedy the situation that we're in. So you all got to find out, I guess, sir, of everything and where we stand. We're not, don't have the ability to transfer any more money out of the road fund, because we've already transferred $150,000 out of it, and we'd be, we'll be hurting. Pardon?
It isn't reflected yet either.
That's not reflected on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just through August.
But in order to pay that $150 back, we're gonna be, borrowing on the next, monies that we receive, and we don't need to do that anymore. So, does anybody have any discussion that they want to bring up about the balance?
The money is extremely tight. We've done estimates. It's running us right at $72,000 a month to do a full month of payroll. That's two paychecks for the semi-weekly, and then for the monthly, all of it together runs about $72,000 a month. And then Connie has me an estimate here of October bills, that the general fund we're looking at $143,500, and the jail fund is running expenses of $32,504. And that's just for the month of October.
We will get some money in when our occupational tax receipts come in.
I think Linda said, or we found out, we're expecting $210 in occupational.
210,000.
210,000.
That's both
That's
occupational
both.
And insurance.
And insurance, yes.
But if you take into account all the expenditures we have, and you take out the $210,000, we're still in the hole $43,000. And that's pulling all that money back to today for what we know we owe and what we spend. Then you would have no money until the next occupational and insurance premium taxes come in at the end of January. You would have your property taxes, but you would not have a large influx like, anywhere from anything at that time. So.
Judge, let me ask you a question. Have you looked at what, like last year and year before last, what was paid out of the general fund versus what's being paid out of it now?
No, have not.
I think that's where you'll find the problem.
What do you mean by problem now?
Well, I mean, I think that they stuff being paid out of the general fund that was not paid out of it before. And I think that's what's making it have such a deficit.
What is it in
the
particular?
general fund.
Do you know what we need to look at and see what it is?
I think what we need to do is to get the treasurer maybe, or whoever, the software program should print out a report of all of the payments that has been made out of the general fund.
Tell me something in particular. I've
Like
got
for
the whole.
payroll, whatever, the whole bit that's been paid out of the general fund, like over the past 2 years, and then versus what's being paid out of it now.
Well,
We know the transfer station's being paid out of it now because it's required by law.
I understand that, but I mean, I think we need to look at that and see if we can't figure out where we're coming up, because I mean, you know, we're 3 months into the fiscal year. And just like the money that was transferred out of the reserve for transfer that was in the budget, they was like a whole year's worth of payroll transferred out of that for payroll for the transfer station. So when you do that, you're putting a year's worth of payroll against 3 months' worth of income. And I mean, you know, you're not gonna balance that way.
Well, anytime you have more outgo than you do have income, it's gonna be out of balance. I mean, it
I
ain't,
understand.
and that's what's happened the last 4 or 5 years. We've spent more money than we had coming in, and that's what's got us in the shape we're in.
But we've had surplus to use, but we don't
may
this
have
year.
had, you know, money
From
to
previous
begin with from previous years, but it's caught up with us, in other words.
Understand what you're saying?
But no, I've looked at this is the general ledger. I've looked at everything that's coded that I scanned that was large expenditures are in the general fund are correct. Okay, so you can have a copy of this though and scan every single
But what I'm
thing.
saying, we need to sit down with a copy from the previous 2 years, what was paid out of the general fund and the amount. I mean, I understand that things have went up some, but we need to sit down with a copy of everything that's been paid out of the general fund for the past 2 years, and then a copy of what's being paid out of it in this year, and compare them and see if they ain't somewhere that we can change some things or change some employees or do something. I mean, you know, people is having a tough time. And I mean, even if you raise the payroll tax today, you're not gonna have any income for 3 months.
Yeah,
So I mean, how we gonna pay the bills in that 3 months?
Well, we're
if we
gonna-
can't pay them
Well, yeah,
then?
we're gonna have to cut costs now because you didn't increase income when we needed to.
Well, if we increase it now, how are we gonna pay?
You take it as a
We'll have to
cost.
cut
Same way
costs
we
until
always
such
paid.
time
We
as the
always
income comes in.
transferred money out of the road fund and paid the bills, so we got our money back
Financial
in.
situations change year to year, Stanley.
Well, I understand that, but I don't understand being broke 3 months into the fiscal year.
I've been telling you this since April. I don't know how you don't understand it.
Well,
Well, what I don't understand, in September of last year, I asked you, how's the budget? It's okay. And then October I asked, in December, okay.
It was for that year. And then when you come into
And it-
overspending.
but I mean,
And did I
go,
not get a handle on it and tell you this April that this was gonna happen? This past April,
So
did I not tell
you
you?
didn't see it in December, November?
We've been
Did you
talking
see
about
it?
this
I
for 6
didn't, I mean, I
months.
wasn't treasurer.
that it's
You don't have
coming.
to be treasurer. You get your
Well,
reports.
Then I didn't see it.
Okay, you didn't see
I took your
it.
word for it, you didn't look.
Well, I'm telling, you didn't take my word for it in April that you needed to increase insurance premium taxes.
That's a little steep, I mean,
You didn't take my word for it then, but you take my word for it whenever it didn't work out for you. That's interesting how you choose when to take my word for something, Anthony.
well, I just, you know, you said it was good and I didn't go any further with it.
Well,
Okay.
well, I mean,
Bottom
It's your
line is now,
responsibility.
it's try to-
regardless of what goes on, we've got to pay our bills, because there's
Yeah.
people in the county that is hurting because the county has not paid their bills. And I mean, we always borrowed money from the road fund and paid the bills. And I don't see any reason now that we can't do that. I mean, we've got the rest of the fiscal year. If we run short on down the road somewhere and we don't get things worked out, I mean, the occupational tax can be increased at any time. There's no time limit on it. And I mean, if we,
But you
know,
can't dig yourself a hole that you would have to increase the occupational tax to 2 or 3 more percent. Once you dig yourself a hole, you only have two quarterly payments to dig yourself out. The further you get in, the higher the rate has to go. So you're digging in
well,
and making a mess
I
of
understand
the
what
whole
you're saying,
financial
but we've
condition.
got income coming in. I
Not
mean,
enough to meet your obligations.
Well, I understand that.
No, you
But,
don't.
yes, I do.
You couldn't.
But I mean, what I'm saying is, if we have to borrow money now to pay our bills, what's the difference in borrowing it now?
Well, Stanley, explain to them what your position is on writing a check if the money's
well, now,
not
if the
there.
money's not there, I'm not gonna write a check
Not
to cover
road fund
something's not
money.
there. Not
Well, I
from the road
understand
fund.
that.
I mean, there's no money gonna be written out if the road fund, if it's not, he will not move the road fund. If you all wanna move it, you have the right to transfer it. But he's not gonna sign a check with restricted money. So we will just
Well,
deduct
it's
that
not-
out. And we
It's
want.
legal.
No, it is not legal. Here's the KRS. Miles needs to be here, or you need to talk to Miles, it is not legal.
I was not here tonight.
He said, I think he's supposed to be here, but it is not illegal. But we'll deal with that with his attorney if we have to get one, but he will not sign any check for
So
using
we're just
anything.
not gonna pay the bill.
We're gonna pay the most, least amount of bills we can pay to get by. We're gonna have to cut costs drastically, because you all did not increase revenues. Is that all right, Stanley?
We're paying out the same as we were, but we've got less income coming in to cover it. So
No.
somewhere along the way, we're gonna have to make up the difference. I don't know what we're gonna make it by. Laying people off and causing, not having to pay out as much as we are for labor.
But drastic measures are gonna have to be
Well, I
taken
mean,
because
the
there's no
county's
revenue.
already got it bad enough, man. Looks to me like that we need to try to heal things up if we can. I
Well,
mean,
that's
you know,
exactly what I'm trying to
we
do,
don't
Stanley,
need-
is try to get this thing
He
done.
tried to get you to heal
I tried to
it.
get
What
this
I'm
done
telling you-
back in the early on, I tried to get
I understand
some
that.
increase in
Revenue.
I understand that.
and it
But
fell on
they-
deaf ears, didn't it? Nobody didn't want to do that.
Well, and
So-
nobody still don't want
I'd
to do
say
it
they don't,
because there's
but we're
people
gonna-
in the county that.
Well, that's fine, but
barely
legally,
make it.
understand this, you don't want to do that, so drastic expenditure decreases will have to occur. That being the case, he will not sign a check that uses any restricted money, okay? From this point on, no checks that use restricted money will
Well,
be
it's a funny
signed.
thing to me, every year since I've been in here, and everybody I've talked to that's been in here for 20 years or whatever, we always borrowed money from the road fund to pay the bills.
Because I'm sure Tommy Phipps could foresee that the money would come back in, it was only a timing issue. I feel sure if Tommy Phipps come in here and looked at these financials, he would tell you the same thing I'm telling you. And I would trust him to understand that. So you bring him in here if you don't believe what I'm telling you. Because he's done it for 30-some years. Have him come in, he can look at these records, he can project. I feel sure, I have every confidence in the world that Tommy Phipps could tell you the same thing.
Well, it's just a funny thing to me that we never had this problem before. I mean, we run tight a lot of times at the end of the year in the general fund. But I mean, 3 months into the fiscal year,
I've been telling
know,
you since April that
We
this is
talked
going
about
to
this back in
happen.
spring, Stanley, this is going to
When
happen.
we were setting our budget.
And when we was trying to work the budget out, and
I
we
know
didn't.
we did.
And DLG said the only thing that they knew to do is wait until it happens, because that's the only way you are gonna see anything. So, it's happened, it's here. You all can take action or not, but we will have to
Well,
take action on the
I just
expenditure.
don't think that, that if we don't pay our bills and we don't pay the.
We're gonna pay the bills that are absolutely necessary. The
Well,
debt,
but what I'm
the insurance
telling
on the buildings.
What I'm telling you is there's people in the county that works, that needs their money.
You bet your life, and
I
that's what
mean,
we told you.
And
Whenever
they-
we knew we weren't gonna-
And I mean, I don't see any reason that we can't borrow the money from the road fund and pay the bill.
Well, we understand you don't see any reason. That's fine, let's leave it at that. You don't see any reason. We do.
I'm sure, I most
We'll have
certainly
to
don't.
agree to disagree on that issue.
Okay. Right.
Don't you think, Snell?
We borrowed all the money we need to borrow from the road fund now, and more than we can pay back already. We're gonna be running our deficit the way it stands.
Stanley's budget told you will be $600,000 in the deficit. You cannot borrow from the road fund this year.
Yeah, sounds like it.
We're bored.
But I mean, he's just here to tell you where the balances are right now and that drastic cuts are going to take place. And if you all want to try to come up with another solution, bring it to him.
I mean, if we raised the payroll tax tonight, what would we do?
We'll cut costs until such times as the revenue is increased, just like you would do if it was your own checkbook.
So we couldn't go borrow the money and pay these people that desperately need their money.
We'll do another analysis. We can analyze whether or not that we will have
And in
enough
the meantime,
money.
the people that's working for the county is gonna suffer.
You bet your life they will. And you can thank you all for that, they're just the same. All 6 of you are responsible
I understand.
because you're the voting members.
All 6 of us, or 5 of us are trying to pay the bills too. But
Yeah.
we don't have the authority to sign the check.
You've got that right, you don't, and he's not gonna do it with restricted money. This money
Can't-
went out, this money did go out. These vendor claims went out this time. They're gonna get paid as minimal as possible. Okay? You all approved
Who
150.
decides who gets paid and who don't?
The required expenditures, the DLG is gonna tell, we have to pay our debt. We have to pay our insurance for these properties. We have to pay our lease payments to the real properties 1 and 2. There are certain mandated expenditures we have to pay. After that, it's just,
Nobody
if
else
there's no
gets
money,
paid.
nobody gets paid. People who provide services will get paid, but we will not, the finance officer, based on Stanley's decision, will not issue purchase orders if there's no money there. So there won't be invoices for people to provide service because we won't have the money to pay them.
And this youth and wellness center is not going to be any asset to us. It's going to be more money spent out than what we've got to do with, so. I'm open for suggestions of whatever you want to suggest. We'll
Other than
look
using
into it.
restricted money.
I'm not going to use any restricted money, no, I'm not.
Any other viable options will be great. And I guess, Tammy, what they were saying, they want the general ledger comparisons for,
Right,
I don't know
wrote
if you
that
can get
down.
in microbook, so I'll get in for you and print out whatever you need.
Okay,
Because is it on your computer system?
no,
Okay,
no, it's not on
that's the
mine.
old one, so I can
Right.
print out whatever you want.
Okay,
You know, it's not like that we didn't see this coming. They kept trying to tell you that it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But here it is, so we need to try to deal with it. Well, no more things need to be brought before the court this time. Do I hear a motion we adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
All right, second? My second motion we adjourn.
Anthony did.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for your attendance, gentlemen.
Even if I was late.
Even if it was late, we don't dock you too bad.
Have another quick trip to Paris. A quicker trip than I had one.